Story 1. Last year, I met someone who changed everything for me. Let's call him Sam. He's kind, reliable, and he saved me, literally. A few weeks after we got together, the woman I was staying with gave me 3 days to move out. No warning. No explanation. Just 3 days before I was going to be on the street. Sam stepped in. He talked to his parents and convinced them to let me move in. I'd met his dad before, we work at the same place, and I used to work with his older brother too, so the dynamic was weird but manageable. First, it felt like things were settling into place. We were happy. The house felt like a real home. His dad was supportive. His older brother kept to himself. Sam and I had our own little world inside that place. But it didn't last. About 6 months in, his mom changed. I'd noticed before that she treated Sam differently, less kindly, than his older brother, but I brushed it off. But as time passed, the favoritism turned into something meaner. If his brother didn't do his chores, she'd gently remind him. But if Sam was 5 minutes late feeding the pets, she'd yell like it was a crisis. Here's the list of responsibilities she gave us. His brother: clean the litter boxes twice a day. Me: take out the bathroom trash when needed. Sam: feed and deflea the animals, wash dishes, help around the house, plus whatever extras came up. I asked her once why Sam had so much more to do. She smiled and said, "Because I can rely on him." I told her maybe she should teach her other son to be more reliable instead. Things got worse after that. Sam was exhausted from trying to meet her expectations. He'd hand wash his clothes every night, so he wouldn't carry the smell of cats to work. One day, even after all that effort, his manager told him he still faintly smelled like animals. That was it. We decided to move out. We had planned a slow transition, moving stuff little by little to the apartment of my best friend and her husband. But when his mom found out, she exploded. Screaming matches, accusations, name-calling. She made it clear she felt betrayed, even though Sam had bent over backwards for her for years. So we moved, all in one day, and we were finally free. Or so we thought. Even after we left, she kept trying to stir things up. She insulted my best friend's parenting, mocked their apartment, questioned their routines. One night, I repeated something she'd said, word for word, and my best friend's husband overheard. He was furious. He said he wanted to call Sam's dad to tell him to get her to stop. Not just for our sake, but for hers. Because starting fires in someone else's home when your own's already burned down? That's a losing game. Sam's mom still sends messages sometimes. Cryptic little barbs about loyalty, family, duty. We ignore them, but I see how it hurts him. Sam told me one night, "I don't think she knows how to be happy unless someone else is miserable." And I believe him. I've never seen someone so determined to drain the light from people who should matter most to her. For a while, it worked. She had me doubting everything. My worth, our relationship, our future. But not anymore. Now we're building something better. A life where we get to choose kindness. Where support isn't conditional. Where love doesn't come with strings attached. Still, I can't help but ask. When someone is trying that hard to steal your peace, is it worth keeping them in your life? I'd love to hear what you think. We're open to any thoughts or advice. Thanks for listening. Story 2. I haven't lived here long. It's my uncle's place. His name's on the lease, his rules. I get it. I'm 21, working minimum wage, trying to save up enough for my own spot. Not easy when rent in the city starts at blood sacrifice and ends at sell a kidney. So I follow the rules. I stay quiet. I clean up after myself. I try not to be a burden. And until last week, everything was fine. The thing is, I met this girl. Let's call her Mira. We met on Hinge right before New Year's. One of those slow burn conversations that turn into all-night texting sessions. She's smart, funny, actually listens when I talk. When we hang out, it feels like I can breathe. So a few days ago, she offered to pick me up from work. Said she didn't want me riding the late bus in the rain. I checked with my aunt, my uncle's wife, and she gave the green light. Just share your location, she said, and be home at a decent time. Done and done. After work, Mira and I parked in the driveway and talked. Nothing wild. No sneaking off. Just two people in a warm car, music low, voices lower. We talked about life, about how exhausted we are all the time, about dreams we don't say out loud to most people. At 2 a.m. I finally stepped out of her car. That's when the explosion happened. My uncle was already waiting. Lights on. Arms crossed. Like a scene from a teen drama, except I'm not 16 and this wasn't a school night. He went off. Loud. Furious. We don't have many rules in this house, but you broke all of them. Why didn't you tell us where you were? Why didn't you check in? I tried to explain. That I had asked. That I had my location on the whole time. That my aunt had said it was fine. That I literally told her I'd probably be sitting outside talking for a while. None of it mattered. His response? If it happens again, you'll have to find somewhere else to live. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark wondering how something so innocent could backfire that hard. Wondering why, if he was worried, he hadn't just texted me. Why wait until I walked in the door to unleash everything? The next day, Mira asked if I was okay. I told her part of it. She offered to talk to them. I said no. This isn't her fault. This isn't anyone's fault, really. Except maybe mine, for assuming logic would win over emotion. I don't want to move out. I can't afford to. But I also don't want to live in a place where I have to explain myself like I'm 12 sneaking out to a party. So here's my question, Reddit, did I mess up? Should I have texted again just to be safe? How do I make things right without losing the one stable roof I have over my head? Any advice would mean the world right now. I'm not trying to be defiant. I just want to be seen for once, not as a problem but as a person who's doing their best. Thanks for listening. Story 3. Where I'm from, California, things have gotten relaxed, let's say. Especially when it comes to people treating store shelves like a free-for-all buffet. It's become so routine, so bold, that folks barely flinch anymore. That's where we come in. I work loss prevention at a very large blue box store, yes, the one you're thinking of. Our squad is usually 3 to 5 deep, but the core crew is 4 of us. Let me introduce the chaos. First, there's Shay. Let's call her the General. She's been here the longest, with over 100 stops. We follow her lead even when she's unbearable. Shay and I butt heads constantly, but without her, the team is like a car missing a steering wheel. That said, her absence is usually messy. Then there's me, Thomas. I've got 40 stops under my belt and a reputation for being the presence when someone's about to pocket something. If intimidation was an Olympic event, I'd podium. Next, we've got Mr. Jenkins. He's the oldest man I've ever met who still moves like he's in his 30s on occasion. He's allegedly been doing LP since before cable TV. A little scatterbrained, refuses to use his phone unless Mercury is in retrograde, but when he's on, he's sharp. And then, there's Starscream. Oh, Starscream. Starscream is the guy who thinks he's the main character in a movie that nobody's watching. Talks like he invented the job even though he's been here the least amount of time. Claims leadership offers nothing. He's the guy who'll whisper teamwork and then vanish during a takedown. He rides Shay's coattails so hard he probably dreams in her voice. Last week, Shay got sent to help another store. It was just me, Jenkins, and Starscream. Disaster waiting to happen. I kept my distance from Starscream. Dude's the kind of problem you dodge, not solve. Then he spots a woman he thinks is lifting. And instead of calling me like protocol requires, he texts me. Twice. First to tell me who she is, then to tell me where she went. All while chatting privately on his phone about something else. No eyes on the target. No backup. Just digital breadcrumbs. Eventually, Jenkins and I caught wind. The woman didn't steal anything but noticed me watching and confronted me. I dipped to the break room before it escalated. That's when Jenkins called me, actually called and asked, why didn't you tell me this was Starscream's case? Cue Starscream bursting in like he was on a reality show. Starts rambling about communication. I stopped him cold. Don't talk about communication when this was your case and you never even called me, I said. You were busy chatting while the person you were watching walked around unmonitored. He hits me with, I was testing you. Testing me. I stared at him. You're not my supervisor. You've got the least experience. You've been here since 2021, I've been here since 2019. Jenkins? He's been doing this since Disco was alive. Then I added, instead of doing your job, you decided to pull some fake leadership trial to see if I'd call you. That's why you're not a supervisor. That's why everyone says you're the weakest link. And then I walked. An hour later, Starscream had to leave early for anger management class. Jenkins and I stayed. We caught 4 people that day without him. No theatrics. No tests. Just work. The lesson? You can't lead a team if the only skill you've mastered is hiding behind someone else's success. And communication? Doesn't come from speeches. It comes from doing your job. Story 4. So let me paint the picture. My husband has this friend, let's call him Rex. Rex has a house. A job. A functioning vehicle. A spine, presumably. Yet for some unknown reason, he has all of his important mail sent to our house. At first, I didn't care. A few envelopes? Whatever. We've all had unstable mail situations at one point or another. I figured it was temporary. It wasn't. 3 months pass. Every other day I'm picking up credit card offers and bank statements addressed to someone who doesn't even live here. Still, I let it go until the morning Rex decided to become a human snooze alarm. It was a Saturday. 6 a.m. The sun wasn't even up. Apparently Rex had something time-sensitive delivered, some sort of legal or financial notice, and expected my husband to bring it to him the night before after drinks. But my husband forgot. Because, you know, people forget things when they've been sipping whiskey. Cue Rex calling us 12 times in a row. 12? Not a text. Not one voicemail explaining the urgency. Just back-to-back-to-back calls until my husband, blurry-eyed and still in pajamas, finally answered. Then he actually delivered the letter like he was some kind of personal mail courier. I was livid. I told my husband, point blank, we are not the post office. Rex is a grown man with the ability and resources to manage his own correspondence. If he wants convenience, there are entire services for that. P.O. boxes, mail forwarding, digital alerts, take your pick. My husband, ever the pacifist, told me I was overreacting. So I dropped it. Until today. I checked the mail like usual, expecting maybe a bill or a coupon book. Instead, 4 letters for Rex. One was a new bank card. One was thick and official-looking, stamped from the Social Security office. Another had "Do Not Bend" plastered across it. And the fourth? A business envelope with a law office return address. Let me repeat, this man does not live here. I haven't told my husband the letters arrived, because I know exactly what will happen. He'll text Rex. Rex will get all huffy and entitled. My husband will say something like, "Sorry man, I forgot again, I'll bring it tonight." And we'll repeat the cycle until Rex is using our address for his taxes. I'm tempted, deeply tempted, to just return them to sender. All of them. Seal them back up with a polite, "No such person at this address," and drop them in a mailbox. But then I think, would that make me the bad guy? Would I be the villain in this story for setting a boundary nobody else seems willing to set? Here's the caveat, Rex is not disabled. He's not in hiding. He's not going through anything that would make this mail situation logical. He just likes the convenience. I've dealt with a lot in life. But I draw the line at being someone's unpaid mailbox. So, Reddit, would I be out of line to return the mail to sender? Or is it finally time to stop enabling a man who treats my house like a private delivery hub? Because last I checked, the postal service doesn't operate out of my kitchen drawer. Story 5. So this happened a few days ago and it's still living rent-free in my head. I-22F had a 5-hour flight coast to coast. I don't travel often, but when I do, I plan ahead because I get pretty intense motion sickness. Planes, cars, boats, you name it, if it moves too much, I'm hugging a bag. But one thing that really helps is sitting by the window and keeping my eyes on the horizon. So I paid extra. Not for luxury, just for stability. A window seat halfway through the cabin where I could breathe and survive the flight without turning green. I board, find my seat, and see a woman sitting in the middle seat next to it. She has a toddler in her lap, maybe 2 or 3, I'm not great with kid ages. I smile, say hello, go to sit down, and that's when she stops me. Actually, she says, "I was wondering if you could switch seats with my husband. He's just a few rows back. We really want to sit together, and our son loves the window." I ask, "Is it a window seat?" She shakes her head. "No, it's a middle, but it's just a few rows back." I explained very politely that I'd actually paid extra for this specific seat because I have motion sickness and the window helps me avoid feeling sick. I even offered to switch with someone else if I could find another window seat nearby so they could all sit together. But that wasn't good enough. Her face immediately changed. Her voice dropped. "So you're really going to say no to a family with a toddler?" I said I wasn't trying to be rude, just that I had a reason for needing the seat. She rolled her eyes, muttered something under her breath, I caught the word selfish, and then turned her body away from me like I just denied her food and water. I stayed in my seat. Her toddler squirmed and cried a bit during takeoff, but he eventually fell asleep. Meanwhile, I spent the first half hour of the flight trying not to vomit from the guilt she was radiating in my direction. But here's the kicker. Mid-flight, I went to use the bathroom, and when I came back, I overheard her telling her husband, who had gotten up to stand near her, that I forced her to sit apart from him and that I was one of those people. He gave me the stink eye as he returned to his seat, and I sat there stewing for the rest of the flight. After we landed, she stood up, looked at me, and said, "Hope you enjoyed your window seat." I smiled. I did. It helped me not throw up on your kid. She didn't respond. I told a friend about it later, and she said I should have just switched, that it's only 5 hours and it's not like I had a broken leg or something. But I don't think it's fair to guilt-trip someone out of a seat they paid for, especially when they offer a compromise. So, internet, was I really the bad guy? Or is it okay to prioritize your own comfort, especially when there's a legitimate medical reason behind it? Because right now, I feel like I'm stuck somewhere between selfish stranger and boundary setting it all. Story 6. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or finally waking up, but I'm genuinely asking, would I be wrong to go no contact with my mother-in-law? About 2 years ago, my father-in-law passed away suddenly. My husband and I were living 1,000 miles away from his parents at the time. They had no other family nearby, so after a lot of difficult conversations, we decided to move in with my mother-in-law to help her out. That decision changed everything. I sold my house, gave up a career I loved, rehomed my 2 dogs, cashed out my retirement savings to fund the move, left behind my entire support system, my siblings, my nieces and nephews, my 90-year-old grandmother. All of it. Gone. I was trading a life I built from scratch to be there for someone I barely knew. When we moved in, it was under clear terms. She'd watch the kids so both my husband and I could work. I had no intention of being a stay-at-home mom. That wasn't part of the plan. But plans don't mean much when you're living under someone else's roof. Fast forward a bit, we had another baby. I was recovering from a C-section while taking care of a toddler and a newborn, largely by myself. My teenage son was struggling with the move. And I was drowning. Eventually, we all agreed it would be best to move back to my home state. My mother-in-law sold her house and used the money to buy a farm-style home in our area. She said this was our family's forever home. She talked about how the boys would grow up here, how it would stay in the family, how she wanted roots. We've been here less than 6 months. She's now decided to sell it and move alone to a totally new state where she knows no one. Since we've moved, she's had dramatic mood swings and turned cold almost overnight. She'll blow up over small things like not being invited to game night even though she's never once shown interest in joining. Once, I politely declined her offer to babysit for our anniversary because money was tight. 10 minutes later, she walked in and berated me while I was feeding the baby. Everything I do is taken as a personal slight. No matter how much I bend to accommodate her, it's never enough. My husband and his brother have encouraged her to get support for what we suspect is unresolved grief and depression. She refuses. The only thing she'll entertain is family therapy if I go, too. As if my existence is the problem. Now she says she's moving for our sake to give me my own space and ease the tension. It doesn't feel generous. It feels like emotional blackmail dressed as sacrifice. And I'm angry. Because I gave up everything for her. My home. My career. My dogs. My community. And now we're facing our third move in under 2 years because she can't handle living near people who care about her. If she sells this house, we'll have to rent. Start from scratch. Again. And I don't think I can keep pretending everything's fine for the sake of being the bigger person. My husband wants to keep her in our lives, holidays, visits, the works. I get it. That's his mom. But I feel like I've been emotionally run over and she's the one driving the car. Would I be wrong to walk away? Because I don't know how to forgive someone who handed me the wreckage of my own life and then blamed me for the crash. Story 7. I knew I should have eaten more before agreeing to take my aunt to Costco. 1 protein shake. That's all I had in me after hiking 7 miles that morning. My body was tired, my patience thin, but my aunt, elderly, partially deaf, and dealing with mobility challenges, needed help with holiday shopping. So I said yes. I've taken her before. She uses one of those electric carts and I handle the product fetching. It's a system. I show her different options, she nods or shakes her head, we move on. No big deal. This time we were eyeing the crab legs for Christmas dinner. I was crouched between her cart and the refrigerator doors, pulling out packs and showing her sizes. That's when they appeared. Thing 1 and thing 2. 2 women who clearly thought they were still ruling the high school cafeteria. Matching energy, matching judgmental stares. They stood behind me loud enough for me to hear, whispering not-so-quiet commentary about how I was in the way and blocking the entire aisle. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But they kept inching closer. First behind me, then somehow wedged themselves between my aunt's cart and the fridge door, like I was invisible. Like she was invisible. Still, I kept my cool. Found the perfect pack of crab legs. Turned around to place it in the cart, only to find it blocked. Completely. By their cart. By their bodies. I tried to sidestep gently and my elbow brushed against thing 1's oversized tote. That's when it began. Watch it, maybe try skipping a few meals, huh? She didn't wait for an apology. Didn't care that I was helping someone who literally couldn't hear her whispering poison. Her friend chimed in, too, you'd move faster if you laid off the snacks. But you're here for the free samples, not the seafood. I froze. Social anxiety wrapped around my throat like a seatbelt in a crash. But something else kicked in, maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was pride. I calmly said, you're blocking our cart? We're not in your way, you're in ours. Thing 2 laughed. Okay, Karen. Maybe go to the gym before lecturing people. I don't remember thinking about my next words. I remember saying, you're 2 grown women arguing with someone who's just trying to help their elderly aunt buy groceries. That's not a flex. That's just embarrassing. I moved their cart aside so my aunt could roll forward. They hissed something behind us. I didn't look back. The rest of the trip felt like walking through molasses. Every aisle felt too crowded. Every glance felt like judgment. I kept my head down, stomach churning, not from hunger, but from humiliation. I smiled for my aunt's sake, nodded when she spoke, but my chest felt heavy the entire time. Later, in the parking lot, I cried behind the wheel. Quiet, fast tears. The kind you don't even realize are coming until they hit your collar. I'm disappointed with myself, not for standing up to them, but for letting it get under my skin. I work out 6 days a week. I eat clean. I take care of myself. My body's changed, sure. Hormones. Stress. Life. But I'm trying. They weren't judging my body. They were looking for someone to tear down because it made them feel bigger. Next time, I'll bring a snack. And thicker skin. But today I'm allowed to feel. And forgive myself for feeling. Story 8. So I've been dealing with this guy, let's call him Ryan, for way too long. We're in the same friend group. We game together, we chat in the same group messages, and sometimes we even hang out in person. Or, well, we used to. Lately, I've been wondering why I even let this guy have space in my life. Every single time we talk, it turns into the Ryan show. He constantly brags about how much better he is than me at literally everything. Video games? He's a god and I'm just a button masher. Gym? He tells me I look like I only lift grocery bags. Life? He says I work dead-end shifts while he's grinding toward real success. But the worst part? He wraps all of this in a bow of just joking. Like if I flinch, I'm the sensitive one. If I say something back, I'm the one starting drama. If I ignore it, I'm too quiet and no fun anymore. It's endless. I work a 7-25-hour night shift. It's not glamorous, but it pays my bills. I get home when most people are starting their day. My body aches, my brain is foggy, and I barely have time to eat before trying to sleep through daylight. And even on my worst days, Ryan's still in the group chat running his mouth about how I can't take a joke. The other night, I finally snapped. Not in a huge way, not like I wanted to. I just typed. Dude, I work 7-hour night shifts. I'm too physically and mentally exhausted for this constant instigating nonsense. That's it. That's all I said. I didn't cuss. Didn't name-call. Didn't humiliate him in front of the others, some of whom are literally still in high school. I kept it clean because there were kids in that chat. But believe me, I had paragraphs locked and loaded. His response? Oh my bad. I guess I'll just stop talking altogether. Don't want to offend the fragile. Like, bro? You're honestly telling me that after months of passive-aggressive jabs, unprompted insults, and loud flexing, I'm the one who's overreacting because I don't feel like playing court jester for your ego? Nah. At what point are people allowed to just say enough? Because that's where I'm at. I'm not asking for praise. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just asking to exist around people who don't treat me like I'm one failed joke away from being the group punchline. I've muted the chat for now. I don't need to make some dramatic exit or declare a friendship over. But I'm stepping back. Because if someone makes you feel smaller every time they open their mouth, maybe they were never your friend to begin with. And maybe you don't owe them the laugh anymore. Story 9. Ever tried to scream in a room full of people and still feel like no one heard a word? That's what it's like being a Jones. So many voices. So much noise. But somehow nobody's really listening. It's like being stuck in an elevator, background music humming low, ignored, but technically present. You're there technically. But are you really? I grew up in a house where silence was a stranger. Yelling was a love language. Emotional restraint? Never met her. Every dinner table was a debate stage and I was the unwilling contestant. The more I tried to express myself, the more I got labeled dramatic, overthinking, too much. Nah. I was just feeling everything they refused to acknowledge. Trying to be understood in my family is like trying to win a game where nobody told you the rules but they still penalize you for breaking them. How are you mad I missed a cue from a script I was never given? What even is unconditional love? Where I'm from, apologies are mythical creatures and accountability was written out before the pilot episode aired. See, some families pass down assets, businesses, legacy. Mine? Secrets. Denial. And Olympic-level passive aggression. Our group chats could be classified as psychological thrillers. You never know who's going to get aired out next, and it's usually for something they didn't do. I'm not looking for sympathy. Don't get it twisted. This ain't a pity party. I'm just saying it takes armor to survive being a Jones. And right now, I'm bleeding under mine. Ever needed support and watched your family pull the mannequin challenge? Frozen. Eyes averted. Pretending they didn't see you stumbling? I have. Walked down the street after a breakdown only to have a relative drive past me like I was invisible. Like I wasn't even worth the decency of a head nod. Tell me how that's love. Tell me how the same people who claim they'd ride for you suddenly forget your number when you need a ride. Or worse, remember it just long enough to drop guilt like it's a gift. You're always making things harder than they need to be. You know how your tone can be. Nah. I know how real can be uncomfortable for people addicted to pretending. Heartbreak? I don't even think it needs romance to happen. Family can split you in ways no partner ever could. Because you're not just mourning the wound, they gave you the knife and still acted surprised when you bled. So here's to the black sheep. The lone wolves. The ones who don't come to every reunion. The ones who turn their silence into strength. You are not broken. You are a glitch in their matrix and that's their issue. And for anyone out there who's been dismissed, ignored, or muted, you're not background noise. There are still people in this world who read the closed captions. People who hear you even when you whisper. You're seen. Maybe I am too. Story 10. Last weekend, my dog Beans bit Jade. Not enough to draw blood, but enough to make a point. I wasn't there when it happened. I was home visiting family for 2 days. Jade had volunteered actually, to watch him. Said she loved dogs. Said she understood how much he meant to me. I left written instructions, color-coded his food containers, even recorded a voice note explaining his routine. Jade smiled and said, "Don't worry, I got it." When I got back, Beans was gone. Not missing. Not at the vet. Gone. Jade stood in the living room like it was normal, like she hadn't just wiped my entire world off the map. I rehomed him, she said with this infuriating calm. You're too attached. It's not healthy. She gave my dog to a stranger on Facebook Marketplace. No paperwork. No collar. No idea where he'd end up. I dropped the groceries in my hands. They exploded across the floor, milk bottle spinning, banana smashed. I screamed. Not words. Just a noise I didn't know I could make. Jade flinched like I'd slapped her, but I hadn't even moved. I called the police. She stared at me like I'd broken some unspoken roommate code. Are you serious right now? Over a dog? I filed a report for property theft even though it felt sick to reduce Beans to property. The officer said they'd do what they could. I called every local rescue, every vet, every Craigslist post for free dogs that fit his description. I didn't eat. I barely slept. 3 days later, a woman named Lorna called me. Said she'd been given a little white terrier mix by a girl named Jade who said she was moving suddenly. Lorna had been suspicious. When she saw the missing dog post I plastered online, she put it together. I met her in a Target parking lot. Beans was in the passenger seat, shaking, wearing a baby sweater 3 sizes too big. The moment he saw me, he howled, climbed over the gear shift and buried his face in my hoodie. I cried in front of a stranger. I thanked Lorna 1,000 times. She cried too. When I got home, Jade was in the kitchen making pasta like she hadn't just tried to erase a part of me. She looked up, saw Beans in my arms, and said, "Oh, so you found him?" I didn't speak. Not then. I waited until night. Waited until she was asleep. Then I took every dog-related item from the apartment, food, treats, leash, bowl, even the framed photo on the fridge, and moved it all to my locked bedroom. I installed a camera. Changed the locks to my room. I wasn't taking chances. Her parents texted me the next day. Said I was ruining her life over a pet. Said I traumatized her by involving the police. I didn't respond. But I did write a detailed report for the landlord. I also filed a small claims case. Because the truth is, this wasn't about a dog. Not really. This was about control. About how some people can't stand to see others love something purely. About how they'll burn down your joy just to watch you flinch. Beans is safe now. But something in me changed. I don't leave him alone anymore. Not even for a weekend. And Jade? She's moving out next month. She leaves her door open a lot now. Like she's daring me to do something. I don't need to. She hears Beans bark once and slams it shut. Sometimes the best revenge is just surviving. And letting them hear every echo of what they tried to erase.